You know that feeling you get when you're taking a test and you think to yourself, wait a minute, this has nothing to do with what we actually learned? Well, guess what? You are probably right. Today, we're going to play detective and investigate one huge question. What actually makes a good test, well, good? Let's crack this case open.
All right, so to kick things off, let's look at a simple little puzzle. But don't let its simplicity fool you. It gets right to the heart of what we're talking about today.
So here's the big question for you. Can a test be reliable, but still be, a bad test? It's a common assumption, right? If you get the same result over and over, it must be good. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? Not even close. Let's dig in.
Okay, let's set the scene with a super simple example. Your job, your only job, is to measure a man's height. That's it. And you've only got one tool to do it with.
So what's this tool? It's just a regular old bathroom scale. You ask the guy to step on it, and boom, it gives you a number, 70 kilograms. You have him do it again, 70 kilograms. And again, same thing every time. The result is super consistent. Sounds reliable, doesn't it?
And this is where the whole case just cracks wide open. Let's break it down. Is the scale reliable? Oh, for sure. It gives you that same 70-kilogram results every single time. But is it a good test for measuring his height? No way. It's measuring the wrong thing completely.
So that huge difference between just being consistent and actually measuring the right thing, that leads us directly to the kingpin of all testing principles. This is the single most important idea we're going to talk about.
And that big idea is called validity. It all boils down to one simple but incredibly powerful question. Does the test actually measure what it's supposed to measure? It's that simple. Is the scale measuring height? Is that history test really testing your understanding of history?
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? Validity is the king. Seriously, think about it. If a test isn't valid, it's just useless. It doesn't matter how reliable it is or how easy it is to score. If it's measuring the wrong thing, it's just a waste of everyone's time.
Okay, so how do we actually figure out if a test is valid? Well, it's not just one thing. We've actually got a sort of detective's checklist. There are 5 key types of validity we need to look for to really solve the case.
All right, for our first couple of clues, we're going to have to pop the hood and look inside the test itself. We need to check out its DNA, what it's actually made of, to see if it's legit.
So clue number 1 is something called content validity. This one's a really big deal, especially if you're a student or a teacher. The analogy here is perfect. Think of everything you learn in a class as a big restaurant menu. A good test should be like a tasting platter. It gives you a little sample of everything on that menu, not just, the breadsticks.
And here's a perfect example of what that looks like when it goes wrong. See this? The teacher spent a whopping 80% of their class time teaching speaking skills, but then the final exam? Only 20% of the questions were about speaking. That is a major disconnect. This test has really low content validity. It's not a fair reflection of the class at all.
All right, next up is clue number 2, construct validity. Now this one sounds a little academic, but stick with me. A construct is just the fancy word for the big, abstract skill we're trying to measure. Think things like creativity or intelligence, or in this example, speaking ability. So the question is, does our test actually tap into that big idea?
So let's stick with our speaking ability example. What's a bad way to measure it? A multiple choice grammar test. I mean, that's testing grammar rules, not how well you can actually talk. It's got low construct validity. What's a great way to measure it? Well, an oral interview where you actually have the student speak. It's directly measuring the thing you want to measure.
Okay, so we've looked inside the test. Now let's zoom out and look at our next clues. These are all about how a test actually performs out in the real world and, importantly, the impact it has on real people.
This brings us to our third clue, which is called criterion-related validity. This one is all about prediction. Basically, does a high score on the test actually predict that you'll do well in the real world? Like, if a placement test says you're an advanced student, you should, be able to succeed in the advanced class. If all the advanced students are failing, then the test prediction was just plain wrong.
Okay, clue number 4 is a lot simpler. It's all about perception. It's called face validity. And it really just asks one thing. Does the test look like a good test to the person who's taking it? Does it seem fair? Does it seem professional? It's really about trust.
Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine a doctor hands you some strange, glowing blue liquid in a beaker. You'd probably think, no thanks, that looks like poison. That's low face validity. But a clean, professional-looking white pill? You trust that. It's the same with a test.
If it looks confusing or unfair or just plain weird, it can make students nervous, and they might do worse than they should.
And this brings us to our fifth and final clue. And honestly, this one might be the most important of all. It's called consequential validity. This one forces us to step way back and ask a really tough question. What are the real-world consequences of this test? Does it end up helping people, or does it actually cause harm?
Here's a perfect and pretty powerful example. Let's say there's a really important, high-stakes test, but it's only offered in the capital city. Think about the consequences of that. Students from poor, rural areas might not be able to afford to travel there to take it. So right off the bat, the test creates an unfair system that harms poor students and helps richer ones. That test has terrible consequential validity.
All right, so we've followed all 5 of our clues. We've looked inside the test, and we've looked at its impact on the world. Now let's wrap this investigation up and put all the pieces together.
So here it is, the complete detective's checklist for a good test. It's got to pass all 5. It needs to test what was actually taught, like the restaurant menu. It has to measure the big idea, not just some random skill. It should be able to predict future success. It has to look fair and professional. And finally, it has to be fair to society. That's the whole shebang.
So the next time you're about to take a test or even write one, I want you to think about this. Don't just think about the score. Think about it as a powerful tool. And now you have the checklist to ask the most important question of all. Is this thing really measuring what matters? Or is it just another bathroom scale trying to measure height?